This is a Yahoo Finance special, Next in EV. 2023 is the year of the electric vehicle, a turning point for mass EV adoption. Sales at some of the biggest electric vehicle makers, from GM to Tesla, are hitting records. New federal tax credits, new state laws, and what consumers love most, a competitive market with prices dropping, is leading to an increase in consumer demand. And the auto industry is responding, going all in on electric vehicles, spending hundreds of billions of dollars in research and development, all to develop the next in EV. We're at the 2023 New York International Auto Show, where that bet on the future is on full display. The hottest new models, the latest tech, and the challenges for both the industry and consumers. We've got it all covered in the Next in EV. Welcome everyone to this special presentation at the New York International Auto Show. A lot to get to, including the hottest vehicles, the latest tech. But first, many are calling 2023 the year of the EV pickup. And Ram is charging ahead in that capacity. I spoke with Ram brand CEO Mike Koval Jr. about that. There's some hesitation among pickup truck lovers that it doesn't have the power they need. Does this?
It sure does, and that's the one thing that our customers demanded of us. And they said, Mike, we'll come along for the ride with you. We're hesitant, we're nervous, but do not compromise on the core attributes that we care about the most, which historically has been towing and payload, but more importantly is about charge time and range in the future. And Ram will offer a better suite of solutions, which is what we announced today.
Okay, first let's start with the towing capacity, because that's what I hear from pickup truck drivers all the time. How's it compare?
Up to 14,000 pounds of towing capability. That's actually more than my ICE-equipped versions. 2,700 pounds of payload. And we also, in terms of range, we offer a 168 standard kilowatt hour battery, which affords you up to 350 miles of range. But if range is really your primary purchase reason, you can opt up for the 229 kilowatt hour battery pack, which affords you up to 500 miles.
And that appears to be the real moat, if you will, between this and its nearest competitors.
Yeah, that's what we've heard. We've heard that a lot of range anxiety, especially while towing, and we think Ram has been able to push past what our competitors have announced today. But I will tell you this, as good as these numbers are, we're not done yet. We also confirmed today that we will, shortly after the Ram 1500 Revolution launches next year, we're going to introduce a Ram 1500 Rev XR for extended range version, which will offer even more class-shattering range than what we've revealed today on the pure battery electric model.
You care to tell us what that range is?
I would love to, and I will do so very soon.
Okay, what about sticker price for the Rev 1500?
A little bit closer to when we get on to when we start production, but suffice it to say, like you, I'm a consumer as well. There's a big elephant in the room. The cost of electrification is very real. But in my view, in my humble opinion, if we're not creating electrification that's available to the masses, I'm not really sure what we're doing. And the good news is we are starting to see a little bit of relief in some of the materials that are going into the product, which is good news. And I think just like any new tech, it'll start high and it'll come down over time, and we're starting to see some of that.
Okay, so biggest obstacle between mass adoption for EVs like this across the country is we get beyond 6 or 7% market penetration. How do we get there?
Yeah, so it's going to be gradual, right? And I think especially because trucks still need to do truck things. They need to tow, they need to haul. That's the one thing, as I mentioned, with it, please don't compromise. Electrification cannot be a limitation, okay? And so provided we stay true to those roots, we will bring our customers along with this on this journey. I don't expect this to change overnight, but I will say, if you look at the adoption projection through the end of the decade, our internal projection is actually more bullish than that, believe it or not. So we're all in, and I think the Ram 1500 Rev is the first signal that Ram is in.
Arguably no company is more plugged into all things EV than Edmunds, and I spoke to their Editor-in-Chief Alistair Weaver about the challenges, the opportunities, and of course, the vehicles. The Kia EV9 just debuted moments ago, and Alistair, Edmunds calls it a potential game changer in EVs. Why?
Well, what's interesting about this, guy, is a proper 3-row family EV. We've seen a lot of smaller EVs. This is a 3-row, similar in size to Kia Telluride, but this is a pure electric vehicle.
And there's been a lot of interesting debuts here. Talk about the Genesis debut we saw earlier, a concept car, as well as the Ram EV pickup. What stands out?
Yeah, the Genesis is a brand that's on a real roll at the moment. That's Hyundai's luxury brand. GV80 Coupe concept, which isn't really a concept at all in that it's heading for production. And then Ram, they're a little bit behind the Ford Lightning, and there's a Chevy Silverado EV this year, but Ram making a big noise about their new electric truck, so everybody's getting into the EV game.
Who's really leading in that pickup space that's got a lot of buzz over the last year?
Well, of course, Ford were first to market with the F-150 Lightning. Chevy's hitting the market this year with the Silverado EV. And now Ram is saying we might not be first, but we're going to be better. We're going to have more range. We're going to have more usability. So they've got the opportunity to see what other people are doing, and now they're coming with their own alternative.
What are consumers telling you that they want when it comes to EVs? We get a lot of headlines, but there is still a lot of hesitation.
It is, and I think the whole cliche about range anxiety is real, and a lot of that relates to the charging infrastructure in the US, which, I live in LA, which is EV central, and even there it's not great. So this is something that has to be solved. I know there's a lot of investment going into it, but if you have an EV, you really need to charge it at home, and then if you're going road tripping, how are you going to charge it? Are the chargers going to work? Are they going to be full? And this is causing a lot of anxiety, and it's real anxiety. It's justified anxiety.
EVs were steadily ticking up, and then came 2022, and they really took a jump. Why that noticeable jump up in sales and adaptability?
Well, I think the first thing is a lot more product coming into the market. For a long time, Tesla almost had the market to themselves, and now everybody's getting into the game, the luxury brands, the mainstream brands. So there's a lot more choice for consumers. Awareness has gone up. Infrastructure is not great, but it's getting better. And so, prices are still more than a gas alternative, but, getting more accessible. So I think people are just starting to look at it and say, yeah, this is for me.
Edmund says there's about a $12,000 average sticker price gap. How important are gas prices when it comes to the consumer's desire to buy an EV? Did we see a spike when we were north of $4 a gallon?
Well, certainly on Edmunds, we see a massive spike in consideration as soon as gas prices go up. We can actually see on our website what people are searching for, and as soon as the gas prices go up, suddenly EVs and hybrids, people start looking. And so obviously it's very state specific with gas prices differing from state to state, but it is a consideration, and what consumers have to do is offset the higher cost of an EV to purchase with the fact that you're going to save a lot of money in fuel costs.
The other thing that really jumps out to me here at the New York International Auto Show is the interior, and I'm talking tech. These displays are like the flat screen in my family room. They're getting bigger, more vibrant. Why is that a concern at all?
It's a big deal, isn't it? It's like, how big is your screen is now a key selling point. It's a bit like, as you say, how big is your TV? I personally think they're quite distracting, and there's a lot of work going into improving the UX and the UI to try and make them work on the move. But you're right. I was in the new Ram EV truck. It's got 3 screens. It's got one in front of your eyes. It's got a massive one in the middle, then a third one in front of the passenger. So it's just, our cars are becoming pretty distracting.
Still ahead, we'll take a cruise around some of the more popular exhibits here at the New York International Auto Show. But first, Ford. EV sales are up 41%, but they're still bringing the muscle. We spoke to the chief engineer of the 5-liter V8 Mustang Dark Horse. Laurie, nice to see you. What makes this beautiful car so different than the Mustangs we've experienced in the past?
Yeah, hi Dave, thanks for having us here today. We have a brand new interior with a fully digital immersive cockpit. You can see the exterior has very modern and edgy styling, and then of course our powertrains. Mustang's all about power. Next generation 2.3 liter and the next generation 5 liter. Our 5 liter actually delivers 500 horsepower in the Dark Horse, so amazing horsepower.
Obviously, the Ford Mustang Mach-E is the only top 5 selling EV not named Tesla, and people have really received it well. What makes it different than others on the market?
Yeah, absolutely. The thing that makes it different is it's part of the Mustang family. So it has several cues that are very tied to all of our Mustang products. So it's got amazing performance, very distinctive styling, and it's fun to drive. So we're super excited to have it part of our Mustang family.
What's happening to the traditional gearheads now that EVs are becoming so popular? Are they dying out?
Absolutely not. There's gearheads in every generation, and actually our Mustang is specifically targeting creating the next generation of enthusiasts. So we want to, of course, make sure we maintain our enthusiasts that we love today, but we're going to grow it to that next generation of young people who are interested in a fun sports car.
Ford has a goal of 600,000 EVs produced this year, 2 million by 2026. EV sales up 41%. You have had some challenges in that regard. What's the biggest obstacle into getting to those massive numbers and mass adaptability?
For Mach-E, we are growing volume end of the year 270,000 units, and that's to meet our demand. So we've got really strong demand. It's an amazing product.
Supply chain issues really were the theme of the last couple of years in the auto industry. Where are those issues? Are they beginning to clear?
Yeah, right now we're not seeing any for Mustang. We are on top of it. We have a team that's constantly looking at supply chain, chip issues, and if they see something on the horizon, they reach out immediately and we develop an action plan.
Of course, when it comes to EVs, one automaker stands high above the rest, but you won't find them here. So Senior Autos reporter Pras Subramanian went to them just a few blocks from the auto show.
The New York Auto Show is here, and as attendees rush through the gates of the Javits Center to see what's latest and greatest and what's next in the world of EVs, what they won't be seeing is this brand, Tesla. That's right, Tesla. Tesla doesn't really go to auto shows in general or even industry events. They usually do their own thing. And what they've been doing lately is dominating the field of EVs from both a production but also a scale point of view. But now Tesla is leading in a new area, pricing. Only weeks ago, they threw down the gauntlet, cutting prices of the Model 3 and Model Y cars by thousands of dollars. Rivals like Ford and even Chinese rivals had to cut prices in order to compete against Tesla's latest move. And right on cue, Tesla reported Q1 delivery numbers that were record highs for the company as they showed that cutting prices boosted demand considerably. And 2023 is not only a big year for EVs and EV SUVs in general, but also pickups. This year at the show, the Ram Revolution EV pickup will be there, as well as the Chevy Silverado EV, in addition to the Ford F-150 Lightning EV pickup. Now, what's not going to be there again is Tesla and their Cybertruck. Cybertruck, Tesla says, has over 100,000 pre-orders, and it will go into production later this year.
Still ahead, some major news from Hyundai. We'll talk to their North America CEO in just a bit. But first, 700 plus cars on display here. One clear theme: the EV surge is here. It's a great time to be shopping for an electric vehicle. Automakers are expected to spend over $1 trillion in the next decade to develop and deliver the next big thing in EVs. Tesla spends the most on R&D per car sold. It also sells the most EVs, taking 4 of the top 5 spots in 2022. But other companies are catching up.
We actually talk to new vehicle shoppers every single month, and we ask them, are you interested in purchasing an electric vehicle? 27% say yes, very, very likely. And the number one brand has consistently been Tesla, but the last few months we've seen Chevy overtake them in brand consideration, and Ford is right there behind them.
More choice, competitive prices, and generous government subsidies are all powering the EV market right now. But one big issue standing in the way of electric vehicle adoption: charging ports.
Now, if you've got a charging station at home, you've got a level 2 station, great, that helps a lot. We're still a little ways away from the great American road trip in an electric vehicle. You know, it's an ongoing process. Things will get better. Folks get these things at home, and then we get more and more infrastructure. The bipartisan infrastructure bill will go a long way to doing that.
California leads the way with 44,000 charging ports, more than 4 times the number 2 on the list, New York. Naturally, some of the country's least populous states, like the Dakotas, have the least amount of EV chargers. And now, even oil and gas companies are building charging stations. BP just announced a $1 billion investment in the U.S. over the next several years. Charging stations are one piece of the puzzle. Another key element for mass adoption of EVs is buy-in from car dealerships. I caught up with Mark Schienberg, the president of the largest regional automobile dealer networks in the country and one of the organizers of the New York Auto Show. How hesitant are your dealers to making this full transition away from gas-powered?
Well, any business person, when you say, listen, you've got to invest $1 million into this, they're going to go, yeah, show me the return on investment. But dealers are like a lot of entrepreneurs. They see a business climate. They understand that this is what is coming down the pipe. They need to come, to work with it. It is a big investment on their part on it, but they do believe that, this is where the business is going to be in the future.
One question on the mind of consumers: can I afford an electric vehicle? We spoke to Elizabeth Krear, who heads up EVs for J.D. Power, about how important affordability is to customers. Okay, Elizabeth, before we jump into the EV story, the car behind us is the Jeep Wrangler, one of the hottest sellers out of COVID. In your opinion, why?
Because it's a Jeep. I mean, Jeep has such brand loyalty. People love Jeep. And I think this one behind us is a 4xe, so it may be attracting some of the consumers that are looking for that EV option.
Seems to be that transfer from goods to experiences. People want to get out and live and travel, and that fits that. So let's talk about the EV story, which really changed in 2022 with market share nearly doubling. What happened?
In 2022, there was an influx of new EV alternatives. So prior to that, it was primarily the premium segment, but in 22, a number of SUVs and truck EVs entered the market, something that we called mass market, and that really attracted a lot of new buyers.
There's still about a $12,000 price gap between gas and electric. How is pricing changing, and how is that increasing EV market share?
Price matters. Price absolutely matters. Total cost of ownership is very important to the consumer. And since last year, that number was $20,000 gap. This year, it's actually 11. Our latest numbers show an $11,000 gap. And that continues to be offset with federal tax incentives, utility incentives. There's a lot of players in the ecosystem that are helping to bring that cost down.
How important is that sub $30,000 level, primarily represented by that Chevy Bolt?
That's absolutely important also, to have a vehicle that's less than $30,000, that's an EV. And oh, by the way, that doesn't even include all of the money that the consumer is going to save over the life of the vehicle as they're using electricity instead of gasoline.
So what's the biggest stumbling block, roadblock between really mass adoption of EVs?
The number one hesitation is infrastructure. Consumers, the current owners, primarily charge at home, but they want the confidence to know that charging is going to be there in the public, where they need it, when they need it, at the speed.
Where is the biggest problem, the biggest gap when it comes to our charging network? And can it possibly get where it needs to be by 2035 when California and New York begin to phase out gas-powered vehicles?
What we're seeing is what I call a shotgun approach. There's a number of stakeholders that are implementing charging. I think what we need is to make sure that it's in the right places. Where is the demand? Where is the adoption of EV happening? And making sure that charging is where the consumer is going to need it. So location, time is critical. Also reliability. The chargers have been declining in reliability. 1 out of every 5 charging experience is a failure due to reliability. So that needs some improvement as well.
That's a shock. How are the automakers, how are the consumers going to be ready by 2035 to phase out gas-powered cars? Because it's still more than 90% of market share.
Mm-hmm. I think everybody, that's the question that everybody's asking, right? But we do see automakers, we see utilities, we see governments, we see everybody taking a vested interest in the transition, and we're here to help that transition and make sure people have the information they need so that we get to the number as we need to, and we know the changes that need to happen.
Where do you think market share will be by the end of the year and by, say, 25 or 6?
Glad you asked. 2026, we anticipate forecasts that the market share will be 27%.
Wow.
Yeah.
So what's the story this year in EVs that you're most focusing on? What's next?
I think it is what happens now that we're moving into the next phase customer. It's no longer the early adopter. There's a lot of mass market vehicles, and it's seeing how many of them, as the supply chain issues get resolved, because right now it's difficult to get them. There's announcement of them, but when consumers go to buy them, they can't get them. As that frees up, now we've got market scope. There's selection for them. Let's see how fast that market share rises.
Should be fun, Elizabeth. Thank you. Hyundai is making its presence felt here at the auto show, unveiling the Kona and IONIQ EVs. Yahoo Finance's Seana Smith spoke to the North America CEO about how Hyundai is gaining ground in the space.
We're off to a terrific start at the New York International Auto Show. Because of the all-new IONIQ 6, we won EV Car of the Year, we won Design Car of the Year, and we also won World Car of the Year. So an impressive start, and you're absolutely right. So we are launching the all-new IONIQ 6, just went on sale last month. We're also launching the all-new Kona EV, which we just highlighted to the press, and we also we're launching the Disney Platinum 100 edition with our partnership through Disney. So a very special day for Hyundai in New York.
One of the things when we talk about electric vehicles, EV, is widespread adoption. What do you think is really necessary in order to convert some of those buyers out there who are a little bit hesitant right now to purchase their first EV?
Well, you know, a great stepping stone for EV would be to take a look at a hybrid. Because I know a lot of people are very concerned about range. A good stepping stone would be to get into a hybrid vehicle and then slowly transition into to an EV. The second thing I would say in terms of adoption is that in the United States we've got to improve the infrastructure. I myself drive an electric car. I've got a level 2 charger in my garage, and I got to tell you, I don't think I'll ever go back to driving a internal combustion engine vehicle. But I know for some people it's a little bit of a concern because of range anxiety. But once you step into an EV, I don't think you'll ever go back to a gasoline car again.
And Randy, pricing is another thing that's brought up a lot in terms of widespread adoption, what's needed, lower pricing on EVs. We've got the IONIQ 6 right here, and I believe that's just over $40,000. How do you see Hyundai, or do you see Hyundai as a player here in the cheaper EVs, anything below $30,000 possibly?
Well, you know, the Kona EV will get you closer to that price point, right? The good thing about the Hyundai brand is that our goal is to try and create a seat for every purse. And we've got a wide range of EV vehicles that consumers can choose from at different price points.
And I know Hyundai is making a push to produce more of its vehicles here within the U.S. You guys have a multi-billion-dollar investment plan for production for Georgia. What can you tell us about that, and why Georgia?
Yeah, we're very, very excited about our new EV meta plant that we're under construction right now in Savannah, Georgia. The investment is about $5.5 billion. It's going to create over 8,100 local jobs. We're also excited about that as well. And the state of Georgia, they've been very instrumental in helping us break ground in Georgia. And now we'll have 2 huge footprints in the United States, one in Montgomery, Alabama, and the other one in Savannah, Georgia. So we're really, really excited about the future.
All right, Randy, well, we got the IONIQ 6 right behind us. I'm excited to get in this car. We're going to go take it for a spin, really get excited, get in there, figure out what has people so hyped up about this.
Let's go check it out. All right.
We got the sunroof open.
We got the sunroof.
All right, Randy, so tell me just all about the bells and whistles, because when it comes to these new electric vehicles, everyone's so excited about what's on the screen and what you can do with it.
Well, the first things first, I mean, you saw the how beautiful the car is, right?
Yes.
I mean, the silhouette, the streamliner design.
Very
the car
futuristic.
Is absolutely gorgeous, right? There you go.
360 view. We can see our producers
right?
in the background here,
Yeah.
but certainly you really get, because I think you drag your finger, here we go, maybe that.
Yeah, you can spin it around. There you go.
And spin it around. That's really incredible.
Tell me that's not pretty cool, right?
Let's talk about range, because that's something that really sets the IONIQ 6 apart from some of its competitors out there. What does that range look like, and how do you keep track of it?
Yeah, that's a great question. So the range is 361 miles on a full charge. And you can see right here in front of you on the screen, right now, this particular car has a range of 141 miles. So it's been driven around the track a few times. It's by far the most range that we have in any of the Hyundai brands. So 361, you can pretty much go from LA to Las Vegas on a full charge.
That's good, because a lot of people get that range anxiety. We've been talking about it so much when it comes to EVs. Randy, from your perspective, IONIQ 6, lots of comparison out there to the Tesla Model 3. What do you make of that?
Tesla who? Well, you know what? I can't speak to the Tesla. You know, of course, I'm biased, but the IONIQ 6, from a design standpoint and a technology standpoint, I don't think you can do any better.
That's it for what's next in EVs, but the electric revolution is truly just beginning. For my co-pilot Shauna Smith, I'm Dave Briggs. Keep it here on Yahoo Finance to see where this story goes down the road.